I wasn't in my parents' home anymore by 18. I left because we had traditional roles in the house, and that wasn't me. Like, I know for my dad, and I don't think it was anything that wrong, but it was just the way he grew up. Women were meant to take care of the father or the husband, depending on where they are at. So that's what he expected of me. He didn't see much beyond the point of what the woman plays in the house. And I can see that's what he expected from me, but that's not what I expected from me. I expected myself to have a high education. So eventually I get to work in the office. I see my father has just a shoebox method. I told him, I'm like, Papi, you should not be writing checks. You know your bank account is negatives? He said, no, figure it out. When he told me figure it out, my whole life changed.
Welcome to Women and Work, the show where we take an inside look at how women are overcoming our own unique challenges as we grow our careers or build a business while nurturing relationships and family. I'm Diane Mocha, founder and CEO of MomSub, the childcare app that connects you to a substitute mom. And I want you to know that work can fit your life. Each week, we meet a woman who has done it. Today, I'm with Martha Razo. When I met Martha earlier this year, I knew right away she was a dynamo. She's the face of the popular Xcelerator Business Summit. She conceived the conference and has been running it for several years, attracting hundreds of entrepreneurs, dozens of vendors, and a lineup of speakers, bringing value and connection to business owners each time. And Martha knows what companies need, because she's been delivering data solutions as co-CEO of Solix Business Services for more than 4 years. She learned her business skills working her way up over 12 years to reach the C-suite and take over as CEO of Guero Pallets. Thank you for joining us, Martha.
Thank you for having me here. It was a privilege. I came and I'm like, wow, this is an amazing space. Thank you.
We're so glad you're here. You know, I know that you've spent a lot of your career in male-dominated fields. This includes getting a master's degree in applied mathematics, right? Where you were probably surrounded by a lot of men in your classes. And then you started as an assistant manager at the pallet company. And you were obviously working around heavy machinery and the men who operate those machines. So I want to know, through all this, while you were raising your 8-year-old son, and as a single mother for a part of that time, you must have overcome a lot of challenges, especially because you were a woman around all these men. And I want to start out with the biggest challenge you think you faced because you were a woman.
I faced several challenges, but I think the one was I look very young. So when I started at Guero's Pallets, that was 12 years ago. So I still looked younger. So I think I looked like I was 15, even though by then I was about 18. And the challenge was that a lot of men wanted to take advantage of the fact that I was a woman, and they thought I was naive and not that knowledgeable in the area of pallets. So they tried to deceive me in terms of pricing. So for example, those that I bought pallets from, because we also buy recycled pallets, then when we refurnish and resell. So they will say, oh, they pay me $3.50. Or they pay me $4 when really we were buying them for like $2.50 to $3. So it was things like that where they're trying to get a little dollar more because they thought that I didn't know what I was doing. Also, there was other things like they tried to add an extra bill of lading and invoice me twice for an invoice, for example, because they didn't think I know what I was doing. So I love numbers, and I also understand patterns. So they didn't know that I also was very bright in the sense that I can sense when something's not in pattern. So I was able to catch those things. I wouldn't tell them you're trying to steal from me. I always just used the numbers and the patterns for my favor. So when I spoke to them, they knew not to step on those grounds anymore, to try to step on or think that I was that I wasn't any smart. So I made sure, because I realized that was a conception, because she's young and she doesn't know anything about this industry because it's a male-dominated industry. The great thing is when I started in this business, they didn't know, but I started working inside in the machinery with all the guys. I also did forklift driving. So what forklift driving allows you to do is to actually know every pallet. So when you know every pallet, you also understand everything that's involved with it and every pricing. And I love mathematics, so I make sure to go even deeper and understand the lumber and the cost to repair a pallet. So they didn't understand that they didn't know that I knew, to the point that I knew how much every nail cost and how many nails were per pallet. And it's because when I want to know something, I make sure to dive deep and know everything to it. So I learned everything about pallets, and I still continue to learn, because believe it or not, everyone just sees them at these little, not these little, they're big pallets for shipping. That's what they think. But no, there's so much depth to it, from the wood species to the different nails that's being used to the height dimensions. Like, it's crazy. The thickness of the deck boards to the runners. But I love this industry, and there's so many reasons why I'll continue to do it, but I'm never stopping my lane in the pallet business.
You know what I love? You talk about your academic smarts, right? And how you understood all these things in the math. But you also talk about your emotional intelligence. The fact that you knew not to just say, hey, you're ripping me off, because then that damages the relationship. But there's a way to get what you want, to get the respect that you need, and to preserve the relationship by being smart about the way that you interacted with these people and told them, in so many words, you're not going to rip me off, but without saying it in a way that people were out the door. So I think that a lot of times is forgotten in the workplace, that women bring that oftentimes, more so than men even, that natural ability to have that emotional intelligence with people. Did you feel like you had this advantage because you had that combination?
To be honest, it wasn't automatically like that, because I didn't have a background in business. So at first, I have to be sincere. I will respond with anger. Like, I will be like, "Are you fooling me?" That was like in the first 2 months, but I learned right away in business, like, even if somebody is making a fool of you in front, or even ridiculizing you, or does something really bad, because there's people that do bad things, you don't respond with that, because you don't never know when you're gonna need that person, or when you're gonna need a favor or anything. You get me? So you have to keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, we're humans, we're not perfect. Yes, you put the boundary, but you put the boundary by using the right words and not trying to insult, because you're not trying to insult the person. You're just trying to let them know that you know what was done. And if it's a good person, they will apologize, and then we will move on with the relationship. If it's not a good person, is what's amazing. They don't fight nor argue with you. They will just leave, and they will never come to your life, because you're no longer vibrating in the same energy as them.
Mm-hmm. And they're doing you a favor.
They're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you don't have to say get out of here or leave. They will naturally leave because they felt like they did something wrong.
So I want to go back to the fact that you were 18 years old.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I look 15, but I was 18. 18 is young, Martha, to get involved in business and to start taking the lead like you did. What was your on-ramp? How did you get involved in this business? And why, did you get so involved that you moved up and now you're the CEO?
Okay, so I was in college at Illinois Institute of Technology. I was doing a dual program, applied mathematics. I was doing my bachelor's and master's. And I'm undocumented. So even though I did really good in high school, I was top 10 of the class, I could not qualify for a full scholarship because I didn't have a social security number. But still, that didn't stop me. I did not want to be in debt, because I heard all these people like 80,000, 100,000 in debt. I'm like, no. So I wanted to pay for school every year and pay off that tuition. So I worked at Chipotle. I wasn't in my parents' home anymore by 18. I left because we had traditional roles in the house, and that wasn't me. Like, I know for my dad, and I don't think it was anything that wrong, but it was just the way he grew up. Women were meant to take care of the father or the husband, depending on where they are at. So that's what he expected of me. He didn't see much beyond the point of what the woman plays in the house. And I can see that's what he expected from me, but that's not what I expected from me. I expected myself to have a high education and just go higher and higher in academia. That was my perception when I was young. And then when I turned 18, I did not like, I was good at work. I was good in terms of my attitude, but I wasn't a good worker at Chipotle. This is a funny story. You're probably gonna laugh because I didn't cook. I tried to avoid that because I saw that's what my mom did and that's what my dad wanted. So I tried to like really avoid all of that, and I just made sure to focus on my studies and do after school programs like volunteer, do sports like I did softball, I did track and field, anything to avoid what I was expected to do in the house. I'm like, I'm gonna be very studious. I'm gonna do all the work. So at Chipotle, I burned my hands from frying chips. I oversalted their guacamole. When I was in the line, I love talking. I love just engaging with people. So when it was rush hour downtown, the lines like were packed, and I'm here having conversations with them, not moving them along, and even cleaning the toilets. I guess I didn't have the skills for that, but I was always like, "Tell me, how do I clean this toilet better?" That was always my attitude. Eventually I realized like, okay, they're never going to fire me cuz I'm just me. I have a very positive personality. Even when I do things wrong, I'm like, how can I do it better? Even in business, that's my attitude. It's always been and it's always going to be. So I decided to just say bye, and that's when I go back to my dad. No, for a whole year, he did not want to talk to me. He felt disrespected. He was disappointed. He was really upset with me. That crushed me because my dad was the person I looked up to. He's an immigrant, didn't know the language, and wow, he has a business. So this is how I see my father, as the person that I admire. And he doesn't want to talk to me. But I go to his job because I don't want to owe a tuition. I don't want to be in debt. So I knock at his warehouse. He was on 26th and Rockwell. It's near Little Village. And I tell him I need a job. And he's still upset. He just wants to give me a check. He's like, let me give you a check so you can pay for your tuition. But he just wants to kind of get rid of me. But also, let me just help her with her tuition. I'm like, no, papi, I want a job. I want to work. And he knows me, my personality. I'm insistent, I'm persistent. I mean, he's like that too. So he allowed me to work inside. And to be honest, the guys were very nurturing in the sense that they were supportive. They showed me how to use the pallet saw machine, and I learned how to cut the boards. It's a hand saw. Eventually, I first actually started just brooming, and there's this big industrial broom that's probably bigger than me. I think it's a 6-foot broom. And I'm here, this little 5-foot lady trying to broom. I learned how to sweep really good warehouses. So if anyone needs to sweep a warehouse, I am top notch at it. And I learned how to cut the wood, forklift drive. I even learned there was one machine that most of the guys were not allowed to use it. It's a machine that takes very thick lumber into smaller like slices of like cheese, but slices of boards. So I was the only one allowed to, because all the other guys will get the board stuck in nails and then they will break the bandsaw, and it was just too expensive because those bandsaws are like $250 or $300. So I was the only one allowed to. Okay, so eventually I get to work in the office because I'm like, wait a minute, I am a math major. I should be able to help my dad other than my strong little hands. I was really good, okay? So at least I gotta show off on that. I was really good. So I work in the office, and what motivated me is I see my father has just a shoebox method. And yet that only motivated me to organize everything, accounts payable and accounts receivable. It was a one-man show. He was running everything on his own, the office, the clients, plus the warehouse.
Paper receipts.
Yes, so it was bad. Until like, let's say a month or two in me working in this office, it was a 53-foot trailer. So it was cold in the cold and it was hot in the hot. I notice his bank account is negative 3,000 something. He's writing a check to somebody, and I'm like, oh my God, every time he writes a check is minus 30, because this is what I saw in his bank account, negative 3,000. And in the transactions, it was minus 35, minus 35, minus 35.
Almost all business owners know that feeling.
I was like, wait a minute. I'm worried because I'm fine. I already know that leaving the house, I'm fine. I'm going to survive because I already had survived for at least, I think by now, it was like 8 months. I was fine on my own. But I'm thinking about my siblings. I'm the oldest of 5. So I'm like, oh my God, my dad is not doing good in his business. This is going to affect all of my siblings. I came from being poor. When my dad migrated here, I knew what it meant to be poor, to have desires of wanting a Barbie doll, to wanting all the toys that every girl had and just not being able to have it. I mean, but that didn't stop me. I used to make this newspaper doll. So if I wanted it, I figured it out, even though I couldn't buy it. So I tell my dad, I'm worried here. I'm like, is he gonna get rid of me and out of his life again and just get upset with me? or how, I didn't know how he was going to take it.
Oh, when you confronted him.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if you tell your dad, especially in a Mexican home, you're doing something wrong, you're like, they get upset at you. But I told them because I'm thinking here in my head, it's either breaking this relationship with my father or the idea of my family being poor again and not having resources. So I told him, I'm like, Papi, you should not be writing checks. You know your bank account is negatives? He said, no, figure it out. When he told me figure it out, my whole life changed. Wow, finally my dad saw that I can be beyond what he expected from me. So I did. I learned everything pertaining to business. I went on YouTube. YouTube is like the most accessible. I learned about QuickBooks. I became QuickBooks certified. I went to the Women's Business Development Center and I learned everything about business, marketing, sales, finance, operations. I made sure that I dominated every category in business. I got so many certifications. Yes, I don't have a degree in it, but you don't need it. And in one of those cohorts of the women's events, I stood up and we did a presentation as the graduation. And I said, I'm going to get Gueros to $10 million. We're going to have Amazon as an account. I'm going to have a sales team of 5. All your bucket list of what you want to achieve. That was in 2019. Fast forward 3 years after that, Gueros got to 14.2 million. And we were negative profits. By then, we were at 32%. That is astonishing because it was a combination of knowledge and an approach that I call data to dollars. I use data all the time to make decisions for the business, whether to raise my prices, which clients to work, where to send my salespeople. So data to dollars, plus the clear vision of where I was taking the business, were the three key that brought us to success.
So during that time, was your dad promoting you? He obviously was giving you, at least initially, some autonomy. I would imagine at some point respect for what you were doing and building. Was he giving you higher pay? Or were you deciding for yourself, I'm going to get higher pay and higher, titles and then introducing you to other people in a way that you felt like you were running the business? Did you kind of feel like you had sort of taken over this business, and did it cause any conflict?
We didn't have any conflict. I think as soon as he realized that, I think when he saw the biggest change is when I was able to convince the bank to give us I think it was 1 million, and I think it was $950,000 loan. When he realized that I was able to use my degree and tell the story that we are capable, because it was interesting because he saw how much he struggled to buy anything on credit because he didn't have credit. Anything he ever wanted to buy was in cash. So he had no credit. So if you have no credit, how in the world is somebody going to lend you? But I was able to make the impossible possible, to even get not only 1,000, but we got $950,000 to buy our own property. When he saw that in 2016, that's when he realized, like, I'm not going to question anything. So interesting enough, right now I'm acquiring a pallet company, and that's a pallet company that I'm going to be running. I really thought that he was going to put like a big argument because this is going to be at least a 2 million investment. He hasn't questioned it, and that really goes to show that he knows what I'm doing. And I'm so grateful that he has given me the keys to run and scale his business.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be an acquisition
Yes.
for the bigger company.
Yes.
So you've got your eyes on more goals in the future. And so tell me how Xcelerator Business Summit started. So you saw all these things that were wrong in the business. And I'm sure at some point you realize, wow, there's probably other business owners too that are going through the same thing, that have a shoebox full of receipts. That's where we met, was at your Xcelerator Business Summit. I wonder where the idea came from, because you seem so comfortable up on stage and organizing an event, but that's a totally different skill set than running a pallet business.
This actually started with this book right here. I was part of an anthology called Today's Inspired Latina. So by 2022, I still don't know how much I grew the business. Like, I didn't even put myself in the equation. I'm just thinking, my dad is such a kind man, very hardworking man. God blesses him. So this is all I think. I'm like, I don't even think about myself, okay? I'm out of here. And then when I write my anthology of Today's Inspired Latina, that's when I actually had some time to sit down because I have a baby too, right? So I'm like running. I'm running the business. I'm also running my parents' real estate. They have commercial and residential real estate. Plus, I have my son, so I'm raising my son, and I'm doing a doctorate. Okay, so these are four things that I'm doing.
My gosh.
So I never sat down to see like what have I achieved, who am I. I was just go go go, like set the goal, go to the next thing, go to the next thing. So being part of an anthology allowed me to just sit down and say, what story do I want to tell? And that's when I was able to look at my own data, my own history. And I was like, wait a minute. It was thanks to my degree and the finance aspect that I brought to the business. I would take a profit and loss every month and I would choose like two expenses and reduce them. And then I would choose two new sales strategies or new ways of acquiring new revenue, like increasing our revenue. And it was doing that that allowed us to grow to 14 million because my parents were always going to work hard, always. But it's really taking that work in the right direction and then woof, it's exponential growth. So when I write that anthology, I'm like, wow, I finally see what I did. But what was great is that then I got inspired and saw my power. So then I did my own book. I did The Business Diva, which is an anthology of women. And at that point, I still just see business people as mainly men, and women are not getting a lot of visibility. And I'm like, oh my God, I should write a book. And believe it or not, business diva was not even a word I was comfortable calling myself. Business diva, because I'm more here of a girl that works in pallets. I was wearing jeans, jackets, you get me? I was like this tough girl. I mean, I'm still tough, but it doesn't matter what you wear. But for me, business diva wasn't associated with me. But I'm like, let me step into being a business diva because I would like to be called a business diva. But even in the first book, I still wasn't comfortable with it. But I'm like, I'm going to step into it. So I write the book, and all these women from all across the country, I mean, here we have New York, Texas, different women, and they tell their story of how they started their business and advice for other business people. And this is what was the pivotal point to Xcelerator Business Summit. I released a book. 213 people come, and this was back in 2022, December 13. It was the first time it ever snowed, and the whole place was packed. And I'm like, wow, I was able to full up a book launch. You know, that's not the most exciting event you're going to go to. You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to a book launch. It's not the most exciting thing, but still it was packed. So that night, interesting enough, I go home and I realize I have the power of bringing people together, the power of influence in promoting something that is not as interesting, but still people came, even when the circumstances were not the best because it was a very snowy day. And then second of all, I gave myself the credit that I built such a successful business at only 26 years old. I'm like, I'm so young. I'm so successful. I'm not yet where I want to be at, but I want to help other business owners. I had that craving to help. So not even 3 weeks after, I go to the Tinley Park Convention Center. I'm dressed down, so I look like I'm 18. Um, I'm like, I want to produce an event here. They're like, have you ever done this? I'm like, yeah, when I was 14, but not in a big conference room. And they don't really think of me as credible. But I'm like, I have a $3,000 deposit. I'm going to deposit this. I don't have an agenda. I don't even know exactly how this looks like, but I just envision a lot of business owners networking, getting information, and getting out of here with the resources and the information necessary to grow their business. That's the goal. I'm like, I promise you there will be an agenda. And fast forward, we did. 320 people from across the country came. I went to speak on different stages. I mean, I'm talking about California, Florida, Vegas. I went to speak and I invited different speakers that I saw that had the vision that I had. And I told them, would you come and speak at the Xcelerator Business Summit? They said yes. So we had speakers from everywhere in the country, and that naturally brought people from across the country. And this year was the third one we did. We brought about 500 people this year, and the following year, I'm hoping that we get closer to 1,000. So I'm going to keep doing the Xcelerator Business Summit. And now that I'm not doing my doctorate, I'm doing more events now.
And this combination of these different career endeavors, because you're still running the pallet company, and then you have this data company to help other businesses like use data to make decisions, and the events, which I know you don't just do the summit once a year. I was just at an event this week where you were doing a fashion show with some of the women from one of your other books. So all these things you're doing, and you have a child, and women know that when you throw that in the mix, it really makes things more complicated. So when did your son come along? What was going on in your life? Was that a conscious decision? And how did that impact your career and the things that you were doing?
Oh, wow. Now you're going in depth into something else.
Yes.
Whoa.
This isn't just business. Women and work involves our personal lives too, because we make decisions based on what's going on in our personal lives.
Okay, I'm going to tell you all the truth, everybody. Okay. So
this is it. We're getting the tea.
And my son knows this, so if anyone wants to use this against me, go ahead. So I never really wanted children. I always knew that I was a career woman, and I was always very ambitious. I knew that I wanted to create world impact, and I still know that I will, and I'm going to. I'm already doing it, creating world impact by actually making people see how limitless they are. That is my goal. Like, how can I get as many people to really realize that we all have the birthright of being limitless? So I didn't want to be a parent. So we had Angelo. It was unexpected. I love my baby, but at first, I did not want to be a mom. So you can just imagine. When I was younger, I got abused. So for me, giving birth was the most traumatic experience ever, because when you're giving birth, and I'm sure men don't know this, but women that have given babies, they're checking under you to see if you opened up. So they're constantly putting their hands on you. So for me, it was just waking up those wounds of having been abused. So for me, it wasn't just the pain, because it's one of the most painful experiences ever. I think people have to know this. People romanticize it. But for me, it was not only the pain, but it was psychologically awakening those memories of disgust and all of that, of uncomfort. So I really tried to forget that date because it was very hard on me. And then after that, I didn't know, but I had postpartum depression. I did not know I was dealing with it. So the way I dealt with it, because what I was learned as I was growing up, is you kind of just put your emotions down. You don't cry. You just move forward. So I just kept moving forward with my goals of building the family business to the 10 million and finishing my studies. I had a very good, my son's father, Tom, very great man. He helped me raise Angelo. We were both figuring it out because he also didn't want to be a parent. And he was very nurturing. That's what helped. So we were both learning from each other. He was teaching me patience with my son. And we figured it out. Like, we made it work.
Was he spending a lot of the time watching your son?
He was spending a lot of the time, but we actually did daycare because he was a CPS teacher teaching mathematics, and that's how we met.
In class? Yeah.
In class. I was a student teacher, and I used to watch him teach.
He was your student?
Yeah. No. He was my student teacher.
He was the teacher, and you were learning from him.
I was learning from him. He wasn't my teacher. He was just somebody that
you were shadowing him.
I was shadowing him. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting, and that's how we got together. It was a very interesting story. Very great person to raise my kid with. Our relationship wasn't in alignment, but we were going to the kid. So I just want to let women know that some of us don't know that we're dealing with postpartum depression. Those feelings of like, I don't want a child. And I didn't feel those emotions at first when a mom sees a child, like, oh my God, I'm in love. I didn't. So that was very frustrating for me. I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I want to just tell the women out there, there's nothing wrong with you. This is giving birth is not, I am telling you, everyone romanticize it, but it's not the same for everybody. Some women love to be pregnant. I personally didn't like it because I was in a life or death situation. I had postpartum depression. Not postpartum depression. Preeclampsia. I had preeclampsia.
Oh, that's very scary.
So that means that the baby is killing you because the placenta the baby's being born with is a matter of time for you to have a cardiac arrest and die. So in that whole time, I'm thinking I'm gonna die. So it was scary. So I love my child. My child is so cute, very smart. What really helped build our relationship, interesting enough, was 2 years ago that I separated from his dad. It allowed us to really bond and have those sacred moments of like getting to know each other. And finally, I have those emotions that a lot of women experience at the beginning, and eventually it does happen. And I think it's just at the right time. He's an author, so if anyone wants to get a book for Christmas, his book's called Angelo Asks for Help. It's on Amazon. He saw all the stack of books that I had. I had Business Diva. I get into almost every anthology possible that is in alignment with what I'm doing. I say yes. And so I have a stack of like 10 books that I've been part of. And he's like, Mom, I want a book. I'm like, okay, puppy, let's do it. Let's make it happen. So he writes his book, he enters into a 12-week program and publish it. And whenever we have vendor shows where their kids are can come, he puts his book and he sells it for $10. He does really
Is it
good.
a children's book?
Yeah, children's book.
Okay, wonderful.
Angelo Asks for Help. It has an activity at the end where the kid actually thinks about ways or situations where they wanted to ask for help, but they didn't.
So he's busy teaching. You're really busy running businesses and your events. So, how do you handle the childcare for your son? Do you lean on family? You said you use daycare. Have you always done that? He's in school now. So, how do you deal with before and after school?
So now I actually pick him up from school, and I learned to actually not go to work every day and have intentional time because he spends half of the time with me and half of the time with his dad. So when he's with me, I pick him up from school. So like today, I'm gonna pick him up from school about 3:20. So I pick him up and then I'm like I let him play in the playground with his friends and then we go out to eat and after that I'm like, where do you want to go? Sometimes we go to Sky Zone, sometimes we're very crazy and we book a hotel and go to a water park. Sometimes we just go on a walk. We take the dogs for a walk or we go on a trail. I like Lake Catherine. So we're at Lake Catherine a lot of the times. If it's summer, we go to the beach. So, and if he just wants to sit down and color or just play his video games, then we do that.
Do you think being a business owner has allowed you to be a different kind of mother than if you had a 9 to 5 and worked for someone else?
Oh, yes, because when I actually did the 9 to 5, at least that's the way I perceived it. As a business owner, we trap ourselves thinking that we have to be in the office every day from actually in the office was 9 to like 6. And I tricked myself thinking that was the case. So I'm actually upset about it. Now I'm like, it was supposed to be what it was. But the first or 2 years of your baby, I would say spend it with your baby. I didn't. I put him in daycare. And if you're a businesswoman and you have your child, it's okay. You'll be fine with 1 or 2 years without having to do the business. And you can still do it when they're sleeping. I mean, I've seen women take their babies to networking events. I take Angelo to networking events. So if you really want something, a baby or a child is not going to stop you. But yes, it does make a difference because now when I realize that I have all this availability of time, I spend it with Angelo because I do have to think at my deathbed, what am I taking? Am I taking these piles of cash or am I taking those treasured moments with my son? So I'm trying to add more and more, even if it's one moment at a time with my son, because when I'm in my deathbed, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to remember when we went to Tampa, when we went to New York. He wants to go to Japan, so we're going to go to Japan. He wants to go to Australia. I'm like, okay, let's go to Australia. So we're going to make it happen. And that's the things that I want to take. Those are the things that bring joy to my life.
And you've been able to plan and make some things like that happen because of the success of your business.
Yes.
Right? And so you know all of these things. You still have a lot left in your career. You're young, but you've already done so much. So you started at a young age. When you think about all the things you've learned during all this time, if you could go back in time and know then what you knew now, what's something that you know you would change?
I already told you one of them.
Being with your son.
I
Yeah.
would be with my son. Women, that year, you're not going to get it back. And they're so precious. I see my nephew right now, my sister's son. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so adorable. Yes, they want a lot of your time and you don't know what they're asking you when they're babies, but they are precious. And I would say take that time with your child. If I were to have a kid, not that I want one, but if I do have one, if God blesses me with a child, I will spend 1 or 2 years with that baby. And I will travel with my baby. Oh, travel with your kids too. Because you think, oh my God, they're going to be crying. It's fine. People are going to survive. And your child will get used to it. That's what's good. Because when you start taking them out to eat, you start taking them on plane rides, they get used to it. Like Angelo, he knows I'm going to be in a 3 hour plane. He just goes to sleep. He knows. And then he's like, oh, we're almost there, right, Mom? Like he knows the times of flights and he's so relaxed. When we go out to eat, he's not obnoxious. He knows that I'm going to eat my meal. I'm going to have a conversation if I want to. If not, I'm just going to watch and observe. He loves to observe. He likes to do more of that. Very smart kid. I mean, he's really been a support to me too, and I've learned a lot from him. So that's one thing. Let me see. What else would I...
Anything different in your career?
Don't listen to people. I think there was a moment where everyone was telling me, Martha, you're doing too much. I don't think it was I was actually out of concern because they're like, how can you be networking? Because every year I go to at least 100 networking events. So they saw me networking because they see me posting on social media. I was doing the school. I was raising my son. I'm running the properties. I'm running 2 book series. I run the Xcelerator Business Summit. I love them all. And a lot of people will tell me, Martha, that is a lot for you. You are going to burn out. And to be honest, I never thought even about burning out until they actually told me. Then I put the word burn out. I'm like, really? And I was believing what they said. And then I was starting to limit myself. But to be honest, I can do this and I can even do more. It's just a matter of having the right people and the right systems in place.
You know how to delegate.
Now I learned.
And that's a huge thing, being able to do a lot of things. And to being self-aware, right? Because there is the potential for burnout. But if you are aware of yourself, like it sounds like you are, then you might recognize when you're like, this particular event, it's not going the way I want. It's bringing me a lot more grief than it's bringing me joy. We all know the 80-20 rule. Sometimes we end up putting 80% of effort into something that's only giving us 20% of the results. And we're like, wait a minute, let me flip that around. That's basically what you did with your dad's business, kind of, is you looked at that 80-20 rule and kind of flipped things around so you could focus on the things that really matter. And you know how to do that in your life. You've obviously already done that.
Yeah, I learned that. I learned that last year when you start delegating. So, for example, Business Diva, I want to keep going on it, but I'm not able to because I want to create bigger impact. So I'm going to assign an author that can take the lead on this book. I Am Limitless. Berenice Soto wants to take the lead on it. So we'll continue leading these world projects, but now there'll be someone else taking on those tasks that will take my time, for example. And then I can focus on more things like how can I get Xcelerator Business Summit in different parts of the world.
And team up with Mom Sub to offer childcare, right? So when you talk about women not wanting to network because they've got a child and they worry about bringing them, there's ways that, there's so many resources out there that you talk about, that you can offer something in the future potentially where women have somewhere they can have their child on site while they're at a conference, and ways that we can work together, being part of your books. You and I have talked about that.
Yeah, you have all these women to meet and talk to because all of these women have kids.
Yeah. So I'm amazed at all that you've done, and you are limitless. And the fact that you want to share that with others is so beautiful and inspiring. And I thank you for being here on today's episode of Women in Work.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been great. If you were inspired by today's story, remember to share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe to meet our next amazing guest. If you or anyone you know is struggling with childcare challenges, check out Mom Sub's free webinar that guides families through the steps to find and keep trusted, reliable childcare by going to momsub.com/webinar. That's Mom Sub, like a substitute mom. You can also connect with Mom Sub on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Our mission is for you to discover what you want in life, pursue it with intensity, like Martha. Reach out for help when needed, know how to delegate, and fulfill your dream, reducing your stress, guilt, and self-criticism, and increasing your calm, confidence, and clarity along the way. Remember, your career, your choices, and your success are yours to define. So keep pushing boundaries and spreading your love and encouragement to other women who need it.